Welcome back to the Pylon YouTube channel. It's your boy Mike back at it with another mock draft. The NFL season is over, and the Kansas City Chiefs have won the Super Bowl. We are about to go into the first wave of free agency. And this is like, honestly, it's called the offseason, but I really don't think it should be called the offseason because a lot of times there's just so much drama. Like, there's the whole Daniel Jones drama. There's the whole Lamar drama. There's a Derek Carr drama. There's just drama all over the place. And this is like the phase of mock drafts where you've had there's the during season hype mock drafts, and then there's the playoff mock drafts where the first half of the draft is set, and then there's following Super Bowl where it's right before free agency, and that's where we are. So a lot of these drafts are going to change depending on how teams attack free agency. Excuse me, but with all that being said, in these mock drafts, I'm going to do one with trades. It's not going to be this one, so we're not going to do any trades. I'll talk about teams that I think could potentially trade up. There are some that I've seen. I've seen a lot of mock drafts, and none of them have made trades with Tampa potentially trading up for a quarterback, which I think is like definitely on the table. But anyways, with all that being said, let's go ahead and get into this first pick. We got the Bears on the clock, and I've done this pick. I think I've done 2 mock drafts so far, and I've gone Jalen Carter, and I think that if the Bears stay here and they're not drafting, I think for any non-drafting quarterback team, any non-quarterback drafting team, Jalen Carter or Will Anderson are 1A, 1B. And I think that for this mock draft, since I haven't done it yet, I'm going to go with Will Anderson, which is a very real possibility. I think Will Anderson has kind of started, his value has started to go down for, like, this happens every year. I've been doing these videos for this being the second year. This happens every year where these players' value just goes down for no reason. Like, the same thing with Kayvon Thibodeau last year. He was the first overall pick, and then it just randomly started to change because it got boring. And it was the same thing with Will Anderson. Like, Will Anderson is a freak, and if you're going to argue that, oh, he's not as good as everybody thinks because he didn't replicate his production from 2021, he literally got triple-teamed all year. He got double-teamed, he got a tight end chipping, and he got a running back chipping. So, like, if you're mad at him for not producing with all of that, I don't know what to tell you. Pick 2 is Bryce Young. We're going to go with Bryce Young. Something really petty that was brought to my attention that could happen is, well, actually, pause. Let me talk about this for a second. Bryce Young, I think, is the most talented quarterback in the draft. Am I willing to put him in the category that I keep personally of quarterbacks I would stick my neck out for? No. Because if Bryce Young comes in and measures out at, let's just say, 5'10 and a half-ish, on the lower side of 5'10 and a half, if he goes about 186-ish, he's not going to be the first quarterback off the board. Like, that's just the nature of the beast. If you've ever heard, if you watch sports, if you listen to sports radio, there was, I forget which channel it was on, but Sean Payton was, I might have been the Herd. Sean Payton was on, and he was saying that within their first round pick, players have to fit a prototype, and if they don't fit that prototype, they either don't draft them or they have to, quote, walk on water. And Bryce Young could potentially be in that camp of walking on water, but he's by no means anybody's prototype size for quarterback. So I know it's stupid and it's not what people want to hear, but it's just the reality. Like, I've been saying it for a while. There's a better reality of Will Levis or Stroud going first, albeit maybe not deservingly so, but it's just the nature of the beast. Like, it's just what could happen. Cardinals pick 3, Jalen Carter. It's whoever's left between Will Anderson or Jalen Carter. But I will say this is a trade spot because I think that the Cardinals need all of the ammo they could get to rebuild this roster. AJ Green retired, JJ Watt retired. They're going to lose a few free agents. They also are just a bad team. I know Kyler was hurt, but they were bad when Kyler was healthy. They got Marquise Brown last year, so they didn't have a first-round pick last year. So if they trade back here, I could see maybe the Raiders, the Panthers, maybe even the Titans. Like, I think a lot of people are kind of ruling out the Titans as a potential quarterback spot in this draft because they are just assuming they're going to get a veteran. But I wouldn't be surprised if Mike Vrabel just kind of takes over the team, and I think I think if any coach could be a GM as well, like Bill Belichick, I think it is Mike Vrabel. He was the one who did not want to trade A.J. Brown, and then the owner sided with the GM. They traded A.J. Brown, and they fired the GM after the Eagles game. So if Mike Vrabel wants to build this thing from the ground up, I would not be surprised, and I think he would do a very good job doing it. Now, you could argue, oh, they have Malik Willis, but how good is Malik Willis really going to be? But I digress. Pick 4 is the Colts. Oops, I forgot to pick them. Pick 4 is the Colts, and I think I would go Stroud. Stroud is my QB1, but I think that Irsay is going to want the toolsy guy. I think that they're going to go with Levis, even though Stroud... There's a fly in here, and I feel like every time I record a video, there's a fly in this room. I'm going to go with Levis. I think Stroud has a lot more potential to go first off the board than not. But we're going to go with Levis. And I also would want to make the argument, like, if you're into Levis because of the tools, then you should definitely be into Anthony Richardson, and I would argue that Anthony Richardson has better tools than Will Levis does. And you could make the argument of, oh, well, Will Levis he's played the position longer, and he has more snaps than a pro-style offense. Okay, that's great, but it's still in college. Like, it's not going to translate. And he has pretty poor ball placement. I saw a thread on Twitter of 7 of Will Levis's 23 interceptions not being his fault. But I mean, ball placement is a factor. Like, if you're throwing at a receiver and he's got to go behind him to catch it and then it goes up, like, if he doesn't touch it, it's still getting picked off. Just because he popped it into the air and gave the safety a chance to get it instead of the corner, that's still on you. So, like, I see the argument because it's true sometimes, but in a lot of the case for Levis, it's ball placement or inaccuracy. Seattle at pick 5. I think I really think Seattle or the Lions are going to sneak a quarterback pick. I don't know who. I would lean Seattle over the Lions to do it, but for this video, we're not going to do that. We're going to go with Tyree Wilson. He's basically this year's Trayvon Walker, and he's doing the same thing Trayvon Walker did last year, where he just kind of creeps and creeps and creeps and creeps and creeps, and then he was the first overall pick. With Tyree Wilson, he's not as dominant of an athlete, but at his size, like, teams are going to be obsessed with that, and someone's going to pick him. He's probably going to go... I don't know for certain because once the combine happens, like, there are 2 board shifts that happen, or I guess 3. There's one during the college football regular season where the board kind of shifts out. And then there's the Senior Bowl. There's college playoffs, and then there's a Senior Bowl. And in the Senior Bowl, if you are like into mock drafts and you watch a lot of mock draft videos, this is the best example I could give you of this happening. How many tight ends were in the first round before the Senior Bowl, and how many tight ends are in the first round after the Senior Bowl? And it's just because they had a good camp, essentially. Like, yeah, it matters. It definitely matters. That's not what I'm saying. But to catapult certain players, unless they're like offensive linemen, from round 3 all the way up to round 1, it's just kind of crazy to me. And it's not crazy because, like, it's stupid. It's just like, okay, right here, Myles Murphy, who I think is the second best edge rusher in this class, second or third, is at rank 19. For what? Why did he fall down the board? There's no tangible reason. As, like, Myles Murphy didn't do anything to fall down, and no edge rusher is even above him besides Lucas Van Ness. Like, I don't understand the shift of things besides people just talking about a certain player more than others. Like, with this pick, I'm taking Myles Murphy because I think he's better than Lucas Van Ness. I think he's a top player in this draft, and he's falling because why? I cannot tell you. It's not like he pooped the bed at Senior Bowl day. It's not like he had a bad combine. If that happens, then yeah, he could fall, but it didn't. So why he's fallen, I don't know. Pick 7 is the Raiders, and I am going to make this selection fully with the mindset of they are getting a quarterback in free agency and or trading for one, and I am going to go with Broderick Jones. He's my tackle one in the class. I think he's got some of the best footwork. He's a dominant run blocker. We saw how good Josh Jacobs was in this Josh McDaniels scheme. I think Broderick Jones is going to be... I think he's going to be good wherever he goes, and he's just a player who's very athletic, and we saw similar... Like, Andrew Thomas was very pro-ready. He's very sound. I think he was arguably this... I think out of that class, he was the safest tackle, but he also had that freak athlete upside, which is why he went pick 4, or wherever he went, I forget. Broderick Jones, I think, is in a similar camp, but not nearly as athletic. Like, Andrew Thomas is best top 2 tackle in the league because he's, one, technically a monster, and he's also just a freak athlete. Pick 8 is the Falcons. And this is where I think I'm just by myself in this. Are you really going to pass on one of these potential franchise quarterbacks, as in C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, because you want to see what you have in Desmond Ridder? The counter argument I will make to myself is the same argument I made to myself last year, is the Falcons are going to be bad regardless. I'm sorry, Falcons fans. But if Ridder is bad, you're going to be bad. If Ridder is good, you might win the division. That's the extremes you're looking at. If you're bad and you get like a Devin Witherspoon to make your team better, then you're going to have another good player, and then you're going to have a shot at Drake May or Caleb Williams in a much better quarterback class. So I'm in the middle on this. I think they also might take a stab at going for Lamar. But if they want Lamar, it makes me feel like they would want Anthony Richardson, who's just like an unpolished Lamar. But if you like had Lamar and Josh Allen and made them one, you get Anthony Richardson. I really hate comparisons too. Like, I really don't like them. Like, people were saying Will Levis was Josh Allen in the beginning of the college football season. No. And I've been saying this, and now people are starting to say it on Twitter. Will Levis is Carson Wentz. That is his comp. And I'm not saying it as the Carson Wentz of now. I'm saying North Dakota Carson Wentz. That is Will Levis. And Carson Wentz, went 2 overall? Will Levis is going 4. Like, they're the same. He's not Josh Allen. Not everybody who's a big, strong athlete and plays quarterback at the same time is Josh Allen. Like, that's just insane. Anyway, for the Falcons, I am going to take Lucas Van Ness. I think you guys just really need to get, like, you have the weakest pass rush in the league. I think you should have played Arnold Ebiketie over Lorenzo Carter all year. I was really high on Ebiketie last year. I thought he was going to be a first rounder. I was very happy when you guys drafted him. I think that I think Van Ness, he's kind of one-dimensional in the sense of right now he's just a bull rush pass rusher. He's very, very good at it. He hasn't played that much in college. I think he's played 1 game over 50 snaps. But if he could kind of elevate his game to the next level and become a more versatile pass rusher, then you might have a rising star on your D-line with Ebiketie, who I still do think is going to be really good. At pick 9, we have the Panthers. I think if the board shakes out this way and you got Richardson or Stroud on the board, it's who do you want? I would go with... this is tough because I really do like Anthony Richardson. I think it's impossible not to just be in love with the potential of like what could be. Like he could in theory be Josh Allen, but again, I hate that. I hate comparing. But if you watch Anthony Richardson's bads, it's like really, really bad. But if you watch his good, it's like, okay, there's 3 people on the planet that can do that. And so that's the in between. But I think Stroud, honestly, is going to be pretty good in the NFL. The Panthers have developed a pretty decent O-line over the past year with Ikem Ekwonu. They brought in a guard from the Rams. I'm forgetting his name. I was really low on Stroud, and now I like really like Stroud. I think the Georgia game, he just put a lot of things on tape against what realistically is the closest thing to an NFL defense you're ever going to see in college, and he did really well. The other thing is, you could push back and say, well, he didn't do good under pressure all year. He has Marvin Harrison Jr., who I think is a top 2 pick next year, top 3 pick. So yeah, and he's got the other kid who's got Double E. I don't know how to pronounce his name, and I'm forgetting it off the top of my head anyway. So he's got talent. But if he goes to the Panthers, he's going to come in with DJ Moore. I think Frank Reich will get the best of Terrace Marshall. You also could draft another receiver in this draft. See what you do in free agency. But anyway, pick 10, and I thought about this a lot over the past week because a couple of my buddies in my dynasty leagues have been my brother in particular has been trading for Kenneth Gainwell everywhere. And I'm like, dude, like, I see what you're saying, but if they just go ahead and do this, then you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. I think Bijan Robinson for the Eagles is a very good pick, and it's definitely, in my opinion, if you're Howie Roseman and you're like, dang, I don't want to get clowned for taking Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson or J.J. Arcega-Whiteside over DK Metcalf again, just take Bijan Robinson. You could go corner, but I did a test run of this a few times, and just to show the board, like, there are so many corners that could go in the first round. Witherspoon, Gonzalez, Porter. I don't know why they have them so low. Cam Smith and Keely Ringo are going in the first round. I also think Emmanuel Forbes, someone I'm pretty high on, can go in the first round. Deontay Banks can go in the first round. I think these Tyreek Stevenson, second rounder. Clark Phillips, second rounder. Like, there's just a lot of players to play corner. Like, you're going to lose James Bradbury and Darius Slay's old, but it doesn't really matter because you could replace both of them theoretically in this one draft. So I'm going to go with Bijan because in the Super Bowl, the Chiefs sold out to stop the run. And in turn, Jalen Hurts had a career day. Shout out to Jalen Hurts. But if you have Bijan, you're not going to stop. Like, I think Bijan's like a 2018 Saquon type player where you're just not going to stop the run. Like, you could try, it's just not going to happen. Pick 11 is the Titans. And like I said before, they might trade up for a franchise quarterback. I don't think it'll be Richardson. If they do trade up, I think they would want to gamble on Stroud or Young. Just roll the dice and see who they could get. But I'm going to go with Peter Skoronski. I think that's just a Mike Vrabel pick. Someone who can play anywhere on the line. I think Skoronski, when he gets to the league, is going to play guard at first and transition to tackle unless he goes to a team like the Jets where he's going to just play tackle. I think the Jets should... Well, we'll talk about the Jets when we get there. But pick 12 is the Texans. And I know a lot of people like going Quentin Johnston here or insert receiver here. But I think with DeMeco Ryans there now, this is going to be D-line, O-line. I think they're going to... I think with this receiver class... Excuse me. A lot of teams are going to opt to go receiver later because a lot of teams are anticipating value falling in that position into later rounds. Like, you're going to have your Parker Washingtons, you're going to have your Rashee Rices, your Jalen Hyatts potentially, like a lot of Nathaniel Dell, Zay Flowers, Booty, Jaden Reed, Tillman. A lot of these kids are just, they're good players, but they're not good enough to be first rounders. So they're just going to fall into the second round, and a few of them are going to hit. Like, look at the 2019 receiver class. How many of them fell into the second and third round? A.J. Brown, Terry McLaurin, Deontay Johnson, all after the first round. So, like, I think the two first rounders for that class were DK Metcalf and, three. It was J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, DK Metcalf, and N'Keal Harry. And then everybody else that was good from that class came later. So you might see a similar thing this year. I'm not guaranteeing it, but I'm just saying possibilities out there. So I do think that with this pick, the Texans are probably going to go. I think you could go Paris Johnson. I think that you're going to use him to replace Tyus Howard. I don't believe you picked up his fifth-year option. If I did, correct me in the comment section. But if you did pick up Tyus Howard's fifth-year option, then this is probably not Paris Johnson. So forgive me for that. Pick 13 is the Jets, and I'm going to go with Brian Branch. I think that this is a very popular pick, and I do think that it is the correct pick to make. I think that this defense is like a few pieces away from being elite, but also there is, I mean, you could argue that it is elite, but there's also the possibility that you don't even have this pick. Like, if you do end up trading for Aaron Rodgers, which I don't think happens, I think Aaron Rodgers probably retires or... I mean, he just does this It's so hard for me to buy into Aaron Rodgers. Like, Aaron Rodgers isn't playing, because he does this every year. So, I mean, it's like the boy who cried wolf. How many times are you going to fall for it before? Anyway, Pat's at pick 14. You're either going to go tackle or corner. I like Brian Branch a lot because I think Devin McCourty is retiring. I don't know if he announced that publicly, but I'm pretty confident that's what's going to happen. In that case, Brian Branch would be the perfect replacement. But in this case, I think it's between Christian Gonzalez or Devin Witherspoon, and I think I'm going to go with Gonzalez. Gonzalez is my corner one. I think he's much better than Devin Witherspoon. Not much better, but I think he's better than Devin Witherspoon. And I think Devin Witherspoon's gaining a lot of hype just because he's a flashier player, in my opinion. He makes bigger hits, makes flashier plays, stuff like that. So, yeah. At pick 15, Packers, I still think the correct pick here is Michael Mayer. I don't care what happened at the Senior Bowl, how infatuated everybody is with Dalton Kincaid and Lucas Musgrave, Like, dude, Michael Mayer is the best tight end in this class. Like, it's like, let's stop with the Senior Bowl hype. It's Michael Mayer. Anyway, I digress. Washington, pick 16. I think this is Devin Witherspoon. You could definitely make the case that this is Anthony Richardson. I think Washington is very quietly in play for Derek Carr. I think that Derek Carr said he's going to go around and see all the teams that are interested. I think Washington has just kept their hands close to their chest, and I think that Washington is definitely in play for Derek Carr or Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm not certain they want to go the draft quarterback route because they have the pieces to compete now. I mean, they were competitive with no quarterback last year. No disrespect to Taylor Heineke. He's just like, he's not it. So get the corner you needed for so long and have been trying to find and roll with that. Pick 17 is the Steelers. And this is Joey Porter. I don't think you think about this too hard. I know that you might be in the camp of, oh, we need to get we need offensive line help, blah 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 blah. Yeah, but there's possibility you could go Joey Porter, and then in the second, because the Bears traded you basically a first-round pick for Chase Claypool, you just get John Michael Schmitz. And then your offensive line, and then you could draft another guard, and your offensive line is fixed. Also, the Steelers are good drafters, so I'm sure your depth. Now, the more diehard Steelers fans will probably come at me in the comments for this, but I'm sure your depth isn't as bad as it could be. Like, it's not like Bears depth. Anyway, pick 18 is the Lions, and with this pick, we went with Myles Murphy. I like the idea of going Brian Brazee here or getting a corner. I don't believe they picked up the fifth-year option on Jeff Okudah, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to take my guy, who I'm pretty high on, Cam Smith. I don't know why PFF hates Cam Smith and Osiris Torrance and John Michael Schmitz and a bunch of other players I like, but they do, and I can't tell you why. Pick 19, Buccaneers. This is a landing spot I've had for Anthony Richardson since before Tom Brady retired. It was a better landing spot when Tom Brady was there because you wouldn't have to play right away. You won't have to play right away anyway because the Buccaneers are probably going to be bad. You guys are going to lose a ton of players to free agency. And probably trade some to rebuild this team. Your O-line's a mess. You have good receivers. And the defense is kind of going to fall apart. So I would just start from the ground up. I would just roll with Kyle Trask for a year. Let Anthony Richardson chill. Maybe play him here and there. But just see what you got. I mean, you could potentially be getting... I'm not going to say that. Pick 20 is Seattle. And I think you go D-line here. You either go D-line or you're going to take Osiris Torrance. I think I'm actually going to take Osiris Torrance. I don't know why PFF hates Osiris Torrance. He's above and beyond the best guard in the class. And he absolutely dominated the Senior Bowl. And I know you just listened to me rant about how I hate Senior Bowl hype. Not that I hate it. I think it just gets really overblown. Because there's such a gap between the end of college playoffs to the Senior Bowl that everybody forgets. And then it's like the new thing. It's like getting a new present on Christmas. It's like, or a new pair of shoes. Just forget about the old shoes because you got the new shoes. Or cleats, I guess. But anyway, Chargers at pick 21. I know that everybody's going to hate this pick, but I think it's the responsible pick. And I'm going to take Anton Harrison. I think that the Chargers need a right tackle so bad, more than receiver. Because if Justin Herbert's that good, you could just sign Darius Slayton in free agency and you'll be fine. Like, he could be your Jalen Guyton that you've been missing. And you could get DJ Chark as well on free agency, and then you keep Mike Williams, or you probably cut Keenan Allen, maybe. And then you have Mike Williams, Darius Slayton, and DJ Chark, and that's a really good receiving core all of a sudden. So I'm going to go with Anton Harrison. I think it's the responsible pick, and I think if Justin Herbert's as good as everybody says he is, he should be able to work with that. Pick 22 is the Ravens, and I'm going to go with Quentin Johnston here. I think that the possibility of Lamar Jackson getting traded gets exceptionally larger every single day. That's just me personally. But regardless, I forget which the name of the OC that the Ravens brought in, but he is like notorious for running air raid offenses, and he's not going to do it with James Proche. So he's going to get a receiver he could depend on. Quentin Johnston and Rashad Bateman actually would be a really good receiving duo. Bateman has that ability to take the top off. Johnston can make plays before the catch, after the catch, and can attack every level of the field. So I really like this pick for the Ravens. I think if you're the Vikings, pick 23, quick transition, you're just going to draft the best defensive player available. And I go back and forth with this because I think you go D-line or you can go corner. It's really whoever you want. And with how the edges are on the board, I think we're going to go corner. And I'm going to go ahead and take Keely Ringo. I think that's just the best pick to make. Because, like, dude, your defense is so bad. It's so bad that it might have gotten Daniel Jones $45 million. And I'm saying that facetiously because I'm a huge Daniel Jones fan. But the point remains that you guys got carved up and that everybody on your defense is bad. I'm just kidding. But it's not a good defensive unit. Anyways, Jaguars pick 24. Ideally, I would go with one of the tackles if they fell, like Broderick Jones. I've seen here a lot in different mocks, but I'm apparently way higher on Broderick Jones than everybody else. So with this pick, I think you gotta go. You're definitely not going receiver. You could take BPA and probably take Brazee here if you wanted. But I'm gonna take a corner, and I'm actually gonna take someone that this might be a little flair for the dramatics here, but I'm gonna take Emmanuel Forbes. I think that Emmanuel Forbes is I never picked for the Vikings. I think Emmanuel Forbes is going to be a day 2 pick that is actually very, very solid once he comes into the NFL. He has all the makings of a press man corner and could be like an elite coverage corner at the next level. In college, he had a PFF grade of 87.2 for the year, which is pretty good. He's in the He had an 89.3 coverage grade and allowed a 54.3% coverage completion percentage. He played mostly out wide, so I think that if you're looking for a player to be your lockdown corner, Emmanuel Forbes can be that, and I could definitely see him sneaking into the first round. Or you could. I think another good pick here would be what's his name? John Michael Schmitz. I think that John Michael Schmitz for the Jag. I think it's just this happens every year where there's a center that everybody knows is really, really good. Like last year was Tyler Linderbaum. The year before that was Creed Humphrey. Everybody knows they're going to be really, really good. But then you have these analytic nerds come in and be like, hey, that kid plays center. You're not allowed to draft him there. And everybody just, for whatever reason, goes, okay, we're not going to draft him there. And then when you do the redrafts a year later, everybody has him in the top 15. Like, it just happens every year. John Michael Schmitz is a mid-second round pick right now, consensus-wise. I don't agree with it at all. I think he should definitely be a first-round pick. Anyway, Giants pick 25. They get their pick between Addison, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Zay Flowers. This is tough for me, but I'm going to go with Jackson Smith-Njigba. I think that Jackson Smith-Njigba is a top 2 receiver in this class. I don't care what anybody says about the injuries and all of that. What he did on the field and the yards he put up and the stats he put up with Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson being on the field with him at the same time, that is insane. And if you're going to argue like, oh, well, he'll just play out of the slot, for the Giants, who are a run-heavy team, Jackson Smith-Njigba is probably the best run blocker in the class. And Daniel Jones peppers his slot receiver why not have one of the best slot receivers you can have? So that's my argument for Jackson Smith-Njigba. If you like Jordan Addison better, that's fine too. The only receiver I'm not taking if I'm the Giants is Zay Flowers, because if you're putting Zay Flowers, Wan'Dale Robinson out there at the same time, your average receiver height is like 5'10". And like, I don't know how that's going to work in the NFL. But anyway, pick 26 Cowboys. I think it's really interesting for me that a lot of these mocks don't feature like any linebackers in the first round. I've seen a lot of Drew Sanders go in the first round. But I'm going to take Zay Flowers here. No. Jordan Addison's here. We're taking Jordan Addison. I'm going to take Jordan Addison. Michael Gallup, who I loved, is not the Michael Gallup that I loved pre-ACL tear. So I love you, Michael Gallup, but I'm afraid your time has come. So with this pick 27, I'm going to take... You could either go Steve Avila. I don't know if he's a first rounder. He's going to be really good, so maybe you just throw him in the first round. But I'm going to take John Michael Schmitz. He's like elite center play, which is not... I'm not expecting elite center play from John Michael Schmitz immediately, but what I am expecting is above average center play to at least competent center play, which makes your guards better. Like, I think that center gets so overlooked, and guard is one of the hardest positions in the NFL to translate to from college. Look at Kenyon Green this year, who is this, and Zion Johnson, who were these shoe-in, plug-and-play guards, and how much they struggled. And you got players like Jamari Sawyer, 6th-round pick from Georgia, going to the Chargers, comes in and plays dominant, right? Like, it's so hit or miss with guards, and you can find them anywhere. But centers, you may be able to find them anywhere, but elite centers just make your offensive line so much better. But with all that being said, Bengals pick 28. I'm going to go with corner here, and I'm going to take Deonte Banks. I don't think Tyreek Stevenson's in that first round conversation yet. Do I think he's close? Yes. He had a really good Senior Bowl, but again, like, I'm not trying to bank it too much off the Senior Bowl hype, but he did play very, very well. He was one of the best players out there. But anyways, pick 29 is the Saints. And the Saints are so hard to draft for me, in my opinion, because I think that they just need everything. I think tight end is in play, but I really don't like taking tight ends in the first round unless it's like a Michael Mayer type player or Kyle Pitts. So we're just going to take the best defensive player available, and that's Nolan Smith. I also think that Tanner McKee is in play. I just don't know if he goes in the first round. That's my thing. And I forget where the Saints are picking in the second round. I think they have their second round pick, but they could take him then. Eagles back on the clock at 30. I think that if this is how the board shapes out, you're either going to take one of the D linemen. I'm going to take Brian Brazee. I think he's your Fletcher Cox replacement. And the Chiefs at pick 31. To be honest, I'm not in on the Zay Flowers hype, but he might be really good in this Chiefs offense. But who I think will be very elite in the Chiefs offense is the fastest player in the entirety of this draft class, Jalen Hyatt. And I think that if you put him in that offense in the McCole Hardman role, it's going to be a lot better than what McCole Hardman was giving you. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this video. That's going to do it for me. Thank you for tuning in to the Pylon Game. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.